Shabnam squinted at the numbers. 5 million rupees. 5 million. Her breath stopped. This is a mistake, she whispered. Too many zeros. Imran smiled faintly. Not a mistake. A small thank you. Kaleem's eyes widened so much they looked ready to fall out. 5 million, he choked, for feeding one street rat. Everyone turned to look at him. Imran's face hardened. My son is not a street rat, he said coldly. He is my child, and that street rat is the reason I am standing here today, trying to be a better father. He looked at Kaleem's stall, the shiny signboard, the expensive meat, the arrogant owner. How many hungry children have you turned away? Imran asked quietly. Kaleem swallowed, suddenly unable to answer. Imran turned back to Shabnam. I built my company with numbers, strategies and deals, he said. But today I learned something from a roadside food seller. He bowed his head slightly. True wealth is not in what we keep. It is in what we give. The karma of a samosa word spread. By evening, half the neighbourhood knew the story. By the next day, people from other areas came to see the humble woman who fed a millionaire's son without knowing. Local reporters came, snapping pictures, asking questions. Did you know he was rich? Why did you help him? Did you ever expect anything in return? Shabnam gave the same answer each time. He was hungry, she said, and I had food, that is all. Construction began within a week. The small dirt patch next to her old spot was cleared. Bricks, cement, and workers arrived. New pipes were laid. A proper kitchen platform was built. Within 2 months, a neat little building stood there, painted in warm yellow, with large windows and a proper signboard. On the day of the opening, a new sign was put up. In bold letters it read, Aryan's Corner, home of Shabnam's samosas. Born from kindness, open for everyone. People clapped. Aryan stood beside her, wearing a shirt that actually fit him now, his hair combed. He held the ribbon as Imran cut it. Cameras flashed. Inside, the kitchen had a new stove, shiny utensils, a big fridge, and even a small office corner. Imran's company had also created a supply contract. Shabnam's stall would provide daily snacks to one of their nearby offices, guaranteeing her a steady monthly income of nearly 120,000 rupees. Keep your prices fair, Imran told her gently. Never forget who you were. But also don't be afraid of growing. I won't, she said, voice shaking with emotion. And I will always keep one plate of food free, for anyone who needs it. Imran smiled. I expected nothing less. As for Kaleem, his customers slowly drifted away. Some said his kebabs tasted different now, not because the recipe changed, but because people had seen his heart. Greed had a flavour, and it was bitter. Eventually, he sold his stall and left the area. No one missed his shouting, the quiet moment after the noise. That night, long after the opening ceremony, the guests and the reporters had left. Shabnam sat alone on a chair in her new restaurant. The tiled floor gleamed in the soft light. The chairs were stacked neatly. The sign on the glass door reflected her tired but peaceful face. Aryan walked in, holding 2 glasses of leftover chai. One for you, Auntie, he said, one for me. They sat together in comfortable silence. Do you remember, she said finally, the first day you came? You were all wet from the rain. I almost didn't call you. Yes, he smiled. I almost didn't come. I was scared you would yell at me. She laughed softly. We were both afraid, she said, but we both took a step anyway. He leaned his head on her shoulder like a child. Auntie, he said, voice drowsy, if you had not given me food that day, I don't know where I would be. She stroked his hair. And if you had not given me a reason to keep my heart soft, she replied, I don't know who I would be. Outside, the road hummed as always. Buses, scooters, distant car horns. Life went on. But in that small yellow building by the roadside, something had changed forever. A woman who once counted every potato, every rupee, now counted her blessings instead. A boy who once slept under broken roofs now had a home in two hearts, his father's and his, and somewhere perhaps an angel wrote in unfading ink, one plate of food, given with love, returned as an ocean. Moral and CTA. Sometimes life gives us a choice between protecting our small comfort and sharing it with someone in greater need. Shabnam chose to give from her little, not knowing that her act of kindness was watering a seed of blessing waiting to bloom. Moral. The value of what you give is not in its size, but in the sacrifice behind it. When you help someone who can do nothing for you, life remembers, and one day your kindness returns in ways you could never imagine. She could add 500 rupees to her dream box. Ayan had not come yet. She kept glancing at the road, worry nudging her ribs. Maybe he's sick, she thought. Maybe someone hurt him. Her thoughts were interrupted by a strange sound. Engines. Not the usual sputtering of rickshaws or the honk of old buses, but the smooth, heavy sound of expensive cars. She looked up. Down the road, 4 large black SUVs were approaching, their windows tinted, their bodies shining in the sun. They moved together like a convoy, slow and serious. Traffic slowed, people stared. Kaleem whistled. Wah! Some minister is coming. The SUVs came closer, closer, and then to everyone's surprise, they stopped right in front of Shabnam's stall. Car doors opened. From the first SUV, 2 men in clean black suits stepped out. From the second, a woman in a formal dress and sunglasses. From the third, an older man in a crisp white shirt and expensive watch. From the fourth, her heart skipped. From the fourth car, a boy stepped out, taller now, wearing clean clothes and good shoes. His hair was neatly cut, his face washed. But the eyes, they were the same, huge, dark, familiar. Ayan, Shabnam whispered. He smiled. Auntie. Her ladle almost fell from her hand. Kaleem's jaw dropped. Customers froze mid-bite. The suited men scanned the surroundings carefully. One of them spoke into a small device in his ear. Another opened a folder. The older man in the white shirt looked around with sharp, tired eyes. He glanced at Kaleem's fancy burger stall, then at Shabnam's small cart, then at the road. Finally, his gaze stopped on Shabnam. Is this the place? He asked. Ayan nodded. Yes, uncle. This is where she fed me. He walked toward Shabnam, his steps more confident than before, yet his eyes still soft when they met hers. You, Shabnam stammered. You look so different. He laughed a little. They gave me a bath and new clothes. Who are they? She whispered. Ayan turned and pointed to the older man. That is my father, he said. The world around her seemed to blur. The truth behind the boy. The older man stepped forward, removing his sunglasses. I am Imran Malik, he said, CEO of Malik & Sons Foods. Shabnam blinked. She had seen posters of Malik & Sons around the city. Their company owned supermarkets, bakeries and restaurants. People said their yearly revenue was over 800 million rupees. And here he was, standing in front of her dusty cart. You run that big company? She asked, bewildered. Yes, he replied, and for months I have been searching for my son. He looked at Ayan, pain flickering across his face. We had problems at home, fights. I said things I should never have said. His voice cracked. One night, Ayan disappeared. We filed reports, put out rewards, hired private investigators. No trace. He looked back at Shabnam. Until last week, when one of my employees, he gestured at the man in the suit, showed me a security camera video from a roadside camera. It showed my son eating at a small stall. He pointed at her cart. Your stall. Shabnam's legs felt weak. She grabbed the edge of her cart to steady herself. We traced the location, Imran continued. Ayan told us about you. how you fed him every day, how you never asked who he was, how you gave food, even when you hardly had enough for yourself. His eyes glistened now. "Madam," he said quietly, "you saved my son." Shabnam stared at Aryan. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered. He looked down, embarrassed. "I was ashamed," he said. "I didn't want you to treat me different, and I didn't know if I would ever go back home." Shabnam felt tears spill over. "Oh, Beta," she murmured, "you were never a burden. You were a blessing." Kaleem was still standing nearby, listening with growing disbelief. "Wait," he cut in rudely. "So this boy is rich? As in really rich?" One of the bodyguards shot him a cold look, and he shrank back. Imran turned to her again. "I didn't come here just to say thank you," he said slowly. "Kindness deserves more than words." He gestured to one of his assistants, who quickly brought forward a folder and a small box. Imran opened the folder and laid it on a cart carefully. "These are documents," he said. "Papers to register a proper shop, not just a cart. In your name, fully paid." Shabnam stared at the papers, not understanding. "A shop?" she repeated weakly. "Yes," Imran said, "a proper roadside restaurant, built just here on this plot. We already spoke to the municipal officer. The land is purchased. Construction will start next week." Her head spun. "What? No! I can't. This is too much." "It is not enough," he interrupted. "Do you know how much my son's life is worth to me? You gave him food when I failed to give him safety. You gave him care when I gave him anger. You showed him love when all he felt from me was pressure." He opened the small box and placed it in her trembling hands. Inside, there was a check. "Listen, Aryan," she said. "Whether you pay or not, you will always have a plate at my stall, okay? As long as I am alive." He looked at her for a long moment, as if trying to read her soul. Then he nodded once. That night, when Shabnam counted her money, she realized something simple but sharp. Even when he had almost nothing, the boy had still tried to give. But she... Sometimes, when she had little, she wanted to close her fist. Who was truly poor? The wise old tea seller one evening, as the sky turned orange and most of the customers had gone, Shabnam walked over to a nearby corner where an old man sold tea from a steel kettle on a coal stove. Everyone called him Chacha Rehman. His beard was white, his back slightly bent, but his eyes were calm like still water. He had seen everything, good times, riots, elections, floods, and always carried a quiet smile. Shabnam sat on the cracked wooden stool by his kettle. "Chacha," she said, "can I ask something?" "Of course, Betty," he replied, pouring tea into a glass with practiced ease. "Do you think I am foolish?" she blurted. "I feed this boy every day. I don't know who he is, where he came from. Sometimes I'm scared I am making my life more difficult. Other stall owners laugh at me. They say I will stay poor because I give too much." Chacha Rehman smiled faintly and began stirring the tea. "Tell me," he said, "when you give him food, how do you feel afterward?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "Do you feel regret?" he asked. "Or do you feel lighter?" Shabnam thought for a moment. "Sometimes I worry about money," she admitted. "But when he eats and smiles, I feel..." She searched for the word. "Warm, like I did something that mattered." Chacha nodded. "Then you are not foolish," he said. "You're rich, in a way many people will never be." "Rich?" She laughed bitterly. "Chacha, I have exactly 12,450 rupees in my name, and 2 saris that are older than most of my customers." He chuckled. "Money is one kind of wealth, Betty, but there is another kind, more powerful. You can't count it in notes and coins." He leaned closer. "There is a saying, when you give from the little you have, angels write your name in ink that never fades." She smiled sadly. "Nice words, Chacha. But angels don't pay the landlord. Chacha lifted his glass of tea. True. But listen carefully. Money can buy a bed, not sleep. Food, not appetite. Medicine, not health. House, not home. Respect, not love. You already have what money can't buy. Don't kill it just to chase what disappears. His eyes softened. And remember, good deeds travel. They may leave your hand, but they walk the world until one day they find their way back to your door. Shabnam didn't fully understand, but those words planted a seed in her heart. The rumour of a rich man's son. Some weeks passed. Ayan kept coming every day. Sometimes he had bruises on his arms. Sometimes he seemed very tired. When she asked, he always gave short answers. I sleep near the bridge now. Some boys tried to take my blanket. A shopkeeper hit me when I looked at his fruit too long. Shabnam's heart broke a little more each time. One afternoon, Kaleem leaned on the post between their stalls and said, You know what I heard? There's a rich businessman somewhere in the city. His son ran away from home. They say he's been missing for months. So, Shabnam asked, not looking up. So, Kaleem snorted, every street rat now thinks they might be a prince. He laughed loudly. Later that day, when Ayan came, Shabnam looked at him differently. Could he be? No, she shook the idea away. Reality was not a movie. Rich people didn't lose their sons into the muddy streets and forget about them. But sometimes she did wonder who Ayan really was. One day, as he finished eating, she said gently, Ayan, tell me something. Where were you before you came here? Do you remember your home? His spoon halted mid-air. His eyes clouded. I remember, he whispered, a big gate, white walls, a garden, a swing. He swallowed, and a man who shouted a lot, and a woman who cried quietly. Shabnam's hand tightened around the metal jug of water. Why did you leave? She asked softly. I didn't leave, he said, voice cracking. One day they left me. He looked at her, those huge eyes full of an old pain no child should know. They said it was my fault, he added in a broken whisper, that I ruined everything. Shabnam didn't ask more. She just did the only thing she knew. She gave him another samosa and said, You didn't ruin anything, Beta. Some grown-ups are just too broken to see clearly. As Ayan walked away that day, she watched him like a mother watches her child going into a storm. Her heart, without her permission, had adopted him. Act 3. When the SUVs came. It was a bright Saturday afternoon. Business was good. Office workers were off, so more people stopped for a relaxed snack. Shabnam had already sold most of her samosas and was feeling hopeful. Maybe today she wanted to explain that she only gave what might go unsold. That sometimes helping someone made her feel human in a world that treated poor people like trash. But she stayed silent, because deep down a small part of her was scared he might be right. What if her kindness was actually stupidity in disguise? That night, lying on her thin mattress in her tiny room, she counted her money. She had made 2,130 rupees that day. She spent 1,600 on supplies and 300 on rent and electricity. That left 230 for herself, for food, medicine, savings. Savings, she snorted softly. What savings? Her fingers brushed a small metal box under the bed. Inside it were crumpled notes and coins, her dream money. She counted it now, 12,450 rupees. She had been saving for 2 years to someday rent a slightly bigger stall or buy a better stove. Sometimes she secretly dreamed of putting a proper signboard with her name on it. Shabnam's kitchen, she whispered to herself sometimes, smiling in the dark. But each time she gave away food, her mind whispered, You are delaying your own progress. The next day, as she walked her cart to the road, a question gnawed at her. Should I stop feeding Ayan? It felt like sand in her mouth just thinking it. Act 2, The Test of the Heart. The next afternoon, Arjan appeared as usual. He looked even thinner than before. His shirt had a new rip. His hair was a bit longer, curling at his neck. Shabnam's hands hesitated over the frying pan. Kaleem's mocking words echoed in her head. You'll stay poor forever. Her heart squeezed. Come, Beta, she said. As he sat down, she forced herself to say, Today, just one samosa, okay? Auntie has to save money. Arjan gave her a small, understanding smile. It's okay, Auntie. 1 is more than 0. That sentence hit her harder than any insult ever had. 1 is more than 0. He ate slowly, like always. When he was done, he stood up and did something he had never done before. He put something on the table. It was a crumpled 20-rupee note. What is this? She asked. Money, he said, for food. Where did you get this? I helped someone carry bags at the market, he said, eyes shining with a mix of pride and fear that she might refuse him. Tears pricked her eyes. No, Beta, you keep it. But he shook his head stubbornly. No, I am not always beggar. One day I will pay you back for everything. The words were too big for his small mouth, but he meant them. She closed his fingers around the note. A dusty roadside, the smell of frying dough, and a little boy with empty hands. That's where this story begins. Before you judge anyone in this story, ask yourself, if you had only 1 plate of food, would you still share it with someone who had nothing? Act 1. The Woman by the Road. Every morning, before the sun fully rose over the crowded city, Shabnam pushed her old wooden cart to the side of the main road. Her stall was simple, just a blue plastic sheet, a rusty gas cylinder, an iron pan and a small bench. She sold samosas, pakoras and chai to bus drivers, rickshaw pullers, office workers and sometimes school children. Her whole world fit on that cart. She was 46 years old, a widow for 10 years. Her husband Rafiq had died of a heart attack on a hot June afternoon, leaving behind a tiny rented room, a few utensils, and a mountain of unpaid bills. Since then, every samosa she sold was a battle. Still, every day, she tied back her greying hair, wrapped her faded dupatta, smiled at the first customer and said, Bismillah, may today be better than yesterday. But there was one thing people always argued about when it came to Shabnam. Some said she was too soft-hearted. Others said she was too foolish, because every afternoon around 2 p.m, Shabnam gave away food for free to the same person, a little homeless boy, the boy with the big eyes. The first time she saw him, it was during monsoon season. Rain hammered on the tin roofs and muddy water ran in small rivers along the road. Business was terrible that day. No one wanted to stand and eat in the rain. Shabnam had made too many samosas. They were getting cold. She was about to pack up when she saw him. A boy, maybe 9 or 10, standing under a broken bus stop sign, drenched from head to toe. His shirt clung to his small frame, his shorts were torn, and his slippers had mismatched straps. His hair was plastered to his forehead, and his eyes were huge, dark and hungry. He kept looking at her stall, then at his own empty hands. Shabnam watched him for a while. Beta, she finally called. Come here. He hesitated, then walked slowly like someone who had been chased away too many times. Yes, Auntie, he said in a small voice. Did you eat? She asked. He shook his head. No. Where are your parents? He shrugged. I don't know. The way he said it was too practiced, like he'd said it many times before. Shabnam looked at her tray of samosas, at least 15 left. If she didn't sell them, they'd go to waste. Her mind whispered, You barely make enough. You have rent, gas, flour, oil to buy. You can't feed every hungry child in the city. But her heart whispered louder, He's someone's son. What if he was yours? She sighed. Sit, she said gently. I'll give you something. His eyes lit up, but he said quickly, I have no money. I know, she smiled. Today you are my guest. Tomorrow we'll see. She placed 2 hot samosas, a handful of fried chili pakoras, and a glass of hot sweet chai in front of him. He didn't eat like a greedy child. He tore each bite carefully, like he wanted it to last longer. He blew on the hot food, murmured a quiet thank you, and finished every crumb. What's your name? She asked when he was done. Ayan, he replied, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. Do you go to school, Ayan? He shook his head again. Where do you sleep? Where I can. That answer stabbed something inside her. From that day the routine began. Every day around 2 p.m, Ayan appeared near her stall. He never begged. He just stood nearby watching. Every day she said the same thing. Come, beta, sit, eat. And she fed him. You'll stay poor if you keep doing this. Not everyone liked what Shabnam was doing. Her neighbouring stall belonged to Kaleem, a man in his 30s with a big belly and a gold chain around his neck. He sold kebabs and burgers and liked to shout at customers to pull them toward his stall. He watched all this with annoyance. One day, as Ayan was eating, Kaleem walked over, wiping his hands on his apron. So, he said loudly, Madam Charity is open again. Shabnam looked up. Salam, Kaleem Bhai. He didn't answer the greeting. Instead, he pointed at Ayan with his chin. You feeding him again? For free? Yes, Shabnam said simply. Kaleem laughed sharply. No wonder you never grow your business. You think kindness pays rent? You think pity buys gas cylinder? A few customers turned to listen. Shabnam felt heat rise in her cheeks. He is a child, she said quietly. He's hungry. Everybody is hungry, Kaleem snapped. I'm hungry for money. You are hungry for a better life. You think you're some saint. You're just a bad businesswoman. He jabbed his finger at her tray. You know how much oil costs now? 520 rupees per litre. Flour, 120 per kilo. Potatoes, onions, everything expensive. And you? He glared. You give it away. Shabnam wanted to answer.